Okay, yesterday we left with a massive cliffhanger. The Shulchan Aruch over here, Siv Beis, writes, "Yishtadel shiu loy begadim." A person should strive to have clothing not in Shabbos, which is very nice for Shabbos. Siv Gimel, Shulchan Aruch says, "Yilbush begadav hanatim." Wear very nice clothing. Why is the Shulchan Aruch repeating himself? First, he says in Siv Beis, strive to have nice clothing for Shabbos. Then he says, no, you gotta wear nice clothing.
When talking about Shabbos itself, when talking about Shabbos?
No. No. So the truth is that the question is really better than the answer in this one. Take a look at the footnote in the Vehadar Mishna Berura. You're going to touch upon this.
Which one?
We're going to start today with Lamed. Let's start today with Lamed. This isn't a chiddush, Sif Gimel. You already wrote this in Sif Beis. Talking about those people who aren't wearing Shabbos clothing when they go to shul Shabbos night, first night of Shabbos when Shabbos starts. In the morning they wear Shabbos clothing. Therefore, this is teaching us that now you gotta put the clothing on before Shabbos starts and make sure you're wearing the Shabbos clothing Shabbos night. Don't say it's the summer, Shabbos starting late, it's only gonna be on a couple hours, the Shabbos clothing. No. Shabbos clothing additionally has to be on at night. It's a chiddush. I mean,
we can see that.
Pashut halacha, but to put that in the words of the Shulchan Aruch is a
So which
mechudesh
one
idea.
is which? Yishtadel is talking about Friday night, or
It seems like Siv Gimel is representing more the Shabbos night because he's talking about should be happy when Shabbos comes in, blah blah blah. So
that's what's telling you. And Yishtadel Shio, but there's a meaning according to your means. You got to try.
Yeah.
Roll Shabbos.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at Lamed. Aleph. Lamed Aleph is going on the line of the Shulchan Aruch. You should be besimcha. You should be happy when Shabbos comes in. Near Midavar. Seems like from the words of the Shulchan Aruch, Shekachiv and Mamash Shahayu, Rabbi Chanina v'Rabbi Yanai Oimrim Boi v'Neitzei Likra Shabbos Malchusa. That Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Yanai, they would say, "Oh, come, let's greet Shabbos, the Queen. The cross Chasam and Kal, let's greet like a Chasam and Kal." They weren't just talking about, oh, you see the Chasam and Kal, you say Mazel Tov, you see the King, you say Shalom. Rather, because of a tremendous endearment and happiness when Shabbos comes. That's when they say this. Also, Rashi says, Karila Shabbos with a special endearment. You know who's Bayar Kolo yesterday? The chief rabbi Israel. Man, I think they got a new chief rabbi, but for a long time. Yeah, big stuff. No, not Rabbi Force, by in Lawrence. Guess who I mean?
Oh.
Yeah, Lawrence.
So
Truth is, a lot of Gedolim come to 5 towns. Right? Yeah, there's Baruch Hashem, 5 towns now. Not only is a place where there's learning, Paraguay especially, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. Rabbi Olshin came, Rabbi Galinsky writes a story. He was in Lawrence once, writes a story collecting.
Oh, yeah, you right.
Yeah, the Rosh Yeshiva Panovich, Rabbi Kaladetsky. Lamed Beis, Mishnah Berura Leil Kotze B'Shem Seif Sfarim. Mishnah Berura and Siman Reish Nun. That Siman's also on deck. Reish Nun and Reish Mem Beis. Mishnah Berura over there is going to write. We'll just learn it over here. Sheyahayir b'tshuva v'yafakti b'maisa b'kol erev Shabbos. Person should think about tshuva, repenting. Yafash v'shemaisa. Perform introspection. Think about how can I improve? What am I doing wrong that I shouldn't be doing? and I'll stop doing every Erev Shabbos. Think about that. Contemplate it. Ki Shabbos Mikri, Kala Malchusul Kilu Makalu Pnei Hamelech Yisbarach Shemo. It's as if we were greeting the king. Just like we wouldn't go in front of a king when we're wearing our work clothing, right? Or if you don't have work clothing, you know what I'm talking about, like clothing that you would wear to a gym or something, right? You wouldn't greet Hashem that way. So too, we can't show up with all these sins. We have to fix that. So to say, dirty work clothing. Okay? Lama Gimel. Here, Bapashta Sh'amru Ba'u L'Talmidav Shayim. This is talking about over here. This is talking about in the Shulchan Aruch. He said that they will come along and they say, Rabbi Chanina Ma'atik V'kai V'panya Demali Shabbos of Amr Bo V'neitzi L'Krosh Shabbos Machusa. Rabbi Chanina, he would wrap himself on Erev Shabbos and he would say, let's come, let's greet Shabbos. Who is he talking about? Let's come. The answer is Talmidim. That's one explanation. Ubeben Yehoyada, beer, Shahaya Darchel Lakabe Timu Bnei Adam, B'derech Ilucho, Shahaya Hoylich L'Kabbalah Shabbos. So the Ben Yehoyada Bava Kamal Beis explains that it was his way that he would gather people with him when he would walk. When he was going to reach Shabbos, he would gather people. This reminds me of the whole story with Shmuel, Eli Cohen, and Shiloh, and they would go up and gather people as they would go. That's what it's reminds them. Anyways, Hein Kedei L'Zacho Yisacherim. Number one, to bring merit to others, to get them involved. Hein Kedei Shu Imo Asar, or to get a minion. So that's one explanation. Another explanation is he was talking to the Malachim. Oh, gather around, we're going to greet Shabbos. He was going to greet Shabbos even with the Malachim. There's a few explanations of what that means. These are important to get pshat, and it's kind of one of the things you just retranslate and you don't really know pshat. It's important to point that out.
You don't need a million to do Kabbalah Shabbos, but here he's bringing down that he tried to get 10 people to interesting. I guess maybe 10 because church.
Yeah, more. The Gemara in Brachos on Vav talks about when there's 10, the Shechina even comes like before they get there something. Yeah, a special 10 Indian. Take a look in the middle of footnote Lamed Hey. Because of how the B'chaim Vital Shekiba Ma'arizal Shekati Govin Amabushim Shaloi V'Shadim B'Shabbos B'Olam Hazeh Kin Yishlab B'Shadim Tami B'Shabbos B'Olam Haba B'Yitra. So according to the color and the type of clothing that a person wears in this world, so too that's what they will give him to wear in the next world as well. V'Sipar Ari Shapam B'Kabbalah Shabbos Nizgale Love Nishmos Chochlam Echad Shenifter B'Yom. Of one time, there's a story with the Arizal at Kabbalah Shabbos that it appeared to him the neshama of a chacham who already passed away. Arizal recognized that he was wearing black clothing. Because in this world he was wearing black clothing, it implies that it's not necessarily about the color, but it's about the type of clothing that it wasn't so nice. So because he was wearing the black clothing, so then so too after he passed, so then so too they also gave him the black clothing as well. So the idea is that the way that a person is over here, that's the way that he's going to be treated in Olam Haba when it comes to the clothing. So this is something that we have to think about and be careful about. Take a look at Lamed Vav. Kosev b'shayos and chuvas panim meiros. This is actually the panim meiros. Let's just remind ourselves, just in case anyone forgot, the Ber Halacha quoted the panim meiros about the white clothing, if it looks like religious arrogance. What on earth is the panim meiros talking about? So over here they speak it out, the whole tshuva. Kosev b'shayos chuvas panim meiros. Shav shekama gedoyle Yisrael hoichim b'mabushim shuvim b'Shabbos. Nowadays that we have many gedolim who are wearing black clothing on Shabbos. Im kain echad mini elaf roitz loimer akayim divrei mekubolim shekasvu shemitzvah laleilech b'mabushim lavanim. So let's say one person comes along and he says that it's a mitzvah to wear white clothing. 1 out of 1,000 people says, you know what? No one's wearing totally white, but I'm going to be that guy. Why? Because the Mekubalim say so. So there's gonna be 1,000 people in the minyan where I'm davening, be the only one wearing totally white. Comes along the Panamiros and says 5 words. Ein Lacha Yehuda Gedolim. He said there's no greater religious arrogance than that. Who do you think you are? Everyone is wearing different type of clothing, and you're the only one wearing totally white. It's fitting to put this person in nidui. You excommunicate this guy. Unless the fellow is known that he is publicly recognized that he's a very pious individual, and every single act that he does is completely for the sake of heaven. And he says, look at the Gemara in Baba Kama, discusses Yehuda v'kosavoid. She'ev shar shebizbanenu ein mitzvah bilavisha slavanim kevon shekulam nohagim v'mabushei shechayrim v'im echa loy v'slavanim havi kechasan bein avelim v'simcha nahavcha l'tuga. And it's possible that nowadays there's no mitzvah when it comes to wearing white clothing. Since everyone wears black, if someone's going to wear white, it's as if you're a chassan, you're a groom who is among avelim, who's among mourners, and therefore you need to be careful. The simcha will actually end up nahafcha. It will end up being the opposite. It will be a sorrow. Mekubalim lo dibru elo b'yameyim shelo hayu loivshim shecharim. Mekubalim were talking about in their day and age that they weren't wearing the black. Masha'in came b'midina seinu. Nowadays that doesn't apply. V'od b'doros holi yishlachuch l'zachuchei leif. So in other words, this is the tshuva of the panim meiros that was quoted in the Be'er Halacha. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Take a look at Os Mem. The Mishnah Berura related that you should wear your Shabbos clothing until after Havdalah. Till after. Till after Havdalah. Mishnah Berura said about that. So he said that you should wear your Shabbos clothing until after Havdalah. Let's take a look at Os Mem. B'Torah's Chaim Perish. Wow, someone brought this question up, and here's the answer inside. Torah's Chaim is excellent. He says some amazing points. I don't know so much about him, but they're quoting him over here. He has amazing points. So he's saying it's implied from this that immediately after Havdalah, you should remove your Shabbos clothing in order not to wear your Shabbos clothing during the week. Because now Motzei Shabbos has the status of the week. So guys are like, I'm lazy. I don't want to take them off until I shower. I want to whatever. No, take them off immediately because you don't want to wear your Shabbos clothing during the week. The Yesod V'Shorish Avoda writes, B'Shem Narizal Shelo LaHasir Maracher Sudas. Bingo, there it is. However, the Yesod V'Shorish Avoda, excellent sefer. I never learned through the sefer Keseder, but whatever gets quoted from the sefer, I'm so fascinated by it that one day I hope to learn the sefer cover to cover. But anyways, he says that no, don't remove your clothing until after the 4 Suda Eke Malava Malka. In other words, there's a concept of wearing nice clothing from Malava Malka. After all, if we just finished hosting a Gadol Hador and we were going to have our last Suda with him, would we switch to our weekday clothing? Of course not. We would wear our nice clothing. So to over here. Ubetorah, okay. V'chein kos b'kaf ha'chaim shenachol linhoikein. Ubetoras chaim beer sheseuda zo shayeches l'Shabbos alpi mashem avur l'kaim and shesarich l'kaima miyad achar Havdalah. The Torah's Chaim explains that this Suda has a direct connection to Shabbos itself, the Suda of Malava Malka, and it needs to be fulfilled immediately after Havdalah. We learned about this when we learned Siman Shin, the concept of having the Malava Malka as close to when Shabbos ends as possible. Why? The answer is because it's connected to Shabbos, and our host, our guest is ready to leave. Shabbos is ready to leave, and therefore we're not. If someone we're hosting is ready to leave, we're not just going to be like, oh, wait another hour or two. No, he's ready to leave. So then we have the Suda, and then we get him to leave. Omnam Baleket Yoisher. Kosav Trumos Hadeshin Lo Haya Poishit Beged HaShabbos Ad shehalach lishan. Wow. Chen Kosev Torah's Chaim. Here he is again. Torah's Chaim. Sham Shechin Minag Oilam. V'ayin Pirchas HaPesach Shnot Tamim Minag Zeh. Wow. So the Leket Yosher has a totally different twist over here. He says that the Trumas Hadeshim would not remove his clothing until he would go to sleep. So it comes out that we have a major machlokas, and therefore at the end of the day, you're going to get the psak, which everyone wants to hear, which is do whatever you want. All right. Personally, if I'm hungry enough, so I will try to have the malav malka right after Shabbos. It's tough this time of year, you know. You don't want to eat so early, but I'm definitely not gonna wear my Shabbos clothing until I go to sleep. I like to change into something more comfortable. But these Shabbosim, you know, I mean, the Motzei Shabbos is just, it's amazing how much you could get done. Right, Motzei Shabbos, I have nothing scheduled right now. Currently in my life, I am so busy every single day of the week, any day, Sunday to Erev Shabbos. My schedule's jammed. I literally have very little time. It's amazing how much learning there is, how many chavrusas, shiurim, whatever, everything that's going chabur. But what's totally open is Motzei Shabbos. So it's a Meir Dikazach. Shabbos is gonna end like before 6 o'clock, right? So there's a period of 5 hours there. I usually go to sleep around 11 at night.
Right.
There's a period of 5 hours straight of learning, and it's literally mashali bochafetz, right? Now it happens to be what we're doing in the morning. This is what I want to do, and this is what everyone else wants to do. Everyone agreed this is a very geschmacka topic, and therefore we all have the patience to spend so much time on this beautiful topic, because every single day we see that there are chidushim that keep pouring in. There's so many new amazing ideas, but literally Motzei Shabbos to learn whatever you want. 5 hours. I mean, you can have such a good time. So many amazing svarim to learn. It's an amazing concept. Amazing what you could do. Write down notes. All these amazing. Something to think about. Anyways, okay, Mem Aleph. Mem Aleph is going on. Anyone who increases honoring Shabbos, whether with their body, with their clothing, with food or drinks, you're praiseworthy. Mem Aleph. Kifi shenahagu hatanoim v'amoraim hu v'le'el. Below Yachosh, excuse me, Adam lifkoim bekavod al yedei shtireh bekavod Shabbos mishum shezeu kavod kevoidush makaber Shabbos mitzvah yos mishul. Okay, the truth is this note has nothing to do with our simon. It's going to be a Reish Nun Shaila, which is going to be the next simon. That's going to be talking about more. This simon is really primarily focused on two things. It's the dress code on Shabbos and the table/tablecloth, but tangentially a little bit, some other concepts are coming up. Like, for example, removing the spider webs, and then we're talking about sweeping. But that's really more of a Reish Nun, Shiloh. So when we learn Reish Nun, we're going to learn about this more. A person should say, oh, that's beneath my honor to do. No, we're going to see that many Gedolim nowadays, as well as in the time of the Gemara, they themselves would sweep the house. They themselves would help out. It's funny, you ask the question, why do you need to say Gedolim nowadays if you have Gedolim in the time of the Gemara? The answer is because even though it's a much higher source in the time of the Gemara, Rabbi Glinsky actually has a piece on this. He said a story, which is essentially the same message as a story that's in the Medrash Rabbah. So why do you need the story? The answer is because when you say a story more nowadays, when you say someone nowadays, people receive it more. Oh, nowadays, so they take it more, even though it's not as much. But anyways, okay, so we're gonna pick it up from, let's just do one quick other point. At the end of footnote Mem Hey, they quote the Sefer Ben Yehoyada in Shabbos Kuf Yates. He says a remez. Bo v'neitze likra Shabbos malchusa is the Roshei Tevos of Bishalom, meaning that there shouldn't be any machlokes. Bo v'neitze likra Shabbos malchusa spells out Bishalom. In other words, stay away from machlokes on Shabbos. Okay, so Mirza Hashem, next week we will continue, and next session we'll be done with the Oz Vehadar Mishna Berura. And then we will move on from there, Mirza Hashem, and we're probably going to wrap up the Simon next week, Mirza Hashem. Everyone should have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos. Bruchim to
you. Curiosity, do you know what's on deck for Mitzvah Shabbos for learning?
What'd you say?
You know what's on deck for your learning Mitzvah Shabbos, or you can play by ear?
What about, oh, what should we learn with the
No,
Shabbos?
no, no. What are you learning?
Oh, what am I learning? Well, my Seder, I have a personal Seder I do every single day. And I'm definitely gonna do that, Motzei Shabbos. And then after I finish that Seder, which usually takes around an hour and a half, so 2 hours. So then we'll see from there what I'm gonna jump into. I gotta type up the notes from what we did in the morning yet. I didn't do that. I'm gonna type that up. I got work to do. So we'll see.
Very nice. Have a good Shabbos.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I wish I was.
Shabbos. Shabbos.